back, I just realized I forgot my headphones. you go? What the fuck? Whatever.
I just can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just why? I just can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just why?
So much junk, so little time. There is a smelly surprise around every corner. collect, and store.
Hmm.
Plastic is the gift that keeps on giving. You are a piece of scrap. That means I like
I just
you.
can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just
Makes
why?
I don't have windows. Huh. Good to know.
I hit the jackpot. 2 square inches of intact aluminum foil.
I just can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just why?
What is this? Abraxo scouring for? Could I interest you in a block of concrete? How could anyone throw away this used toilet paper? The world is my dumpster.
Hmm. Interesting. Let's see.
I just can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just why?
So
That's a
much
nuked
junk,
area.
so little
Hi.
time.
Hi, Tom. Well, I was going off about Pelosi this morning. It was funny because I was listening to Ranting Monkey last night about Pelosi and then Sinatra today. And everybody seems to forget she's from Baltimore. Polly! Polly! Aren't you up late? I was just going off about that. Like, I tried to give myself a surprise look with my makeup, just letting you know for a spoiler. I tried to give it. I cannot get the Nancy Pelosi perpetually surprised look. I have more of a perpetually unamused look on my face. Some call it resting bitch face. Yeah, fuck it. I'm skipping the 10-minute thing. I'm not monetized. I don't give a shit. It's a hobby. I was going off about Pelosi. Like, I mean, it's cool that she's the first re-elected Speaker of the House.
Just why?
There
She's
is
still a fucking
a
cunt.
smelly surprise
There's
around
no
every corner.
arguing with that logic. She's still a cunt. And she's from Baltimore. She needs to cut the holier than thou. I'm better than you because I live in San Francisco where they're so enlightened act. And it's perfect that Polly's here. You weren't on Twitch for my rant yesterday. I went on
I
to
smell
say
scrap.
that
Well, not literally.
well, let's fix that. Turn down my game sound, up the mic. Twitch and the YouTube streams run differently out of my obs, I guess.
Plastic is the gift that keeps on
Because that volume was perfect yesterday when I was ranting about Pelosi. And dear boy, girl, thing. I don't know. Somebody playing dress up to get attention. So it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they say because they're just using the current trend to be topical and relevant. I told you, like, I told you, I don't go between the nips and not these lips, the other ones. Just saying. You're welcome. I'm not an aspiring ethot. I'm better than that. I actually have a skill set that's not attached to my body. Not like taken skill set though. It's not a very special set of skills to find somebody, but that's not the point. But Polly, you're here in perfect time. I was ranting about my nickname for them, Bambi, on Twitch yesterday, but I did go into a bit of a rant about something that's more up your alley. And actually, Monk was going off about it this morning, which was hilarious. I was laying in bed laughing hysterically, and my boyfriend, I elaborated to him, and then he started laughing. It was about women complaining about different things, and I said, or that article he was reading last night where she was complaining about, oh well, it's this but not in this case, and you take out the all and believe all women, it's believe women. Well, yes and no. So Monkey was correct in one statement. However, it could be just a vague term that it's don't treat women as liars. They are not perpetually liars. You can believe women as well. It's not men have the final and only truthful say in the scenario. That's where English breaks down and you can kind of see it that way. But I was talking about walking HR case yesterday, and he actually picked up an article that kind of proved the point I was talking about earlier in the day about walking HR cases and why women are dreaded in the military for the EO officer at the command, and then what would be the HR department at the private sector. So welcome to the realm, and see what I've been going off about for like 2 days now. And why Pelosi's holier than thou, but being from not the greatest area of Baltimore is kind of empowering those, even though she lets AOC and the squad march all over her. So yeah, that's what I've been ranting about, because those bitches. That's a lot to take in. That is a lot to take in.
I just can't shake these nightmares. Floating in space forever. Just why?
Does that work better for an explanation? Oh shit. That's why I said it's perfect you showed up, because we have Pelosi to cover, women in STEM, and how feminists are toxic human beings and make me want to stab somebody in the throat when they complain Oh yeah, I gotta take this shit off the screen. Hang on. That header can go away too. Ta-da! Perfect. Nope, I'm just gonna kill this guy. Oh, son of a bitch. Yeah, I got enough rounds.
You stink of the crater. What do you want? Seriously?
Well, it depends on what perspective you look at it, and her sitting there being of consequence. However, the fact that she was able to convince Nancy Pelosi and some other senior members of Congress, and well, senior members of the House, not so much the Senate, because the Senate just kind of laughs her out of the room, and they're like, they just do the pat on the head, and they're like, okay, little girl, whatever you say, and send her on her merry way. That's where it depends, because the fact that she could persuade Pelosi to kind of skew a little bit more left towards her is concerning, because if she has that sway over somebody who is a career politician that is also the daughter of a career politician and the sister of a career politician, that's kind of a problem. That's how I see it anyway. And it's not so much a problem for the nation as a whole, it's a problem for women, because they're like, oh, yay, feminist, all these women are doing things, and yeah. It makes the rest of us look like idiots. So it's kind of one of those scenarios where they're talking about, how do I phrase this? We've hired her because her resume has advertised a specific grouping of abilities. Her degree indicates X, Y, and Z scopes of knowledge. Does she actually have it? There's that inherent doubt. It's the same as I mentioned with a walking HR case, because you go into like a tech field or you go into the military, and they are concerned that A, will you be able to do the maintenance or the engineering tasks given on hand, and B, while doing those tasks, are you going to lob accusations of sexism at those in charge who are placing you on those given tasks? Or is somebody going to say something that you take the wrong way, that you are personally offended by? It's the same principle, just different application. Well, it's not just AOC, it's her squad. They might not take her seriously. They take Talib and Omar seriously. That's the problem. They take the other two, and then whoever the third one is, I don't remember her name, because she keeps her mouth shut in the public eye and lets the other ones run their mouths. She's actually smart. she's smart about it. She is the smart one in the group. She's actually the one you should be afraid of because she generally tends to not talk on camera. Or not Omar, Talib. You have Rashida Tlaib, and oh yeah, it is Ilhan Omar. I don't know. Dumb bitches who run their mouths who act like they're so oppressed yet got elected to Congress. It's like they're talking about a different country. Oh, that's right. The one they have family in. The ones they have family in. About that. Well, yeah, and well, sure. I believe I would imagine you are probably correct. I'm gonna nod and smile on Ayanna Presley. She's been the one that's usually at the press conferences with the rest of the squad. She just doesn't talk there. She doesn't open her mouth. That's what concerns me. She's smart enough to not open her mouth in front of a camera where it can possibly be held against her later by the public. But she hangs out with them. That tells me she's more of a behind-the-scenes puppet master. She is essentially facilitating AOC to sound like a crazy person, not sound like, to sound off her insanity online and on the media, but she keeps her on a leash. It's a long leash, but it's a leash. Hello, Jordan.
That cheap squatch wins for the best worst name. Although smelly probably ain't. Nice tin suit. It'd be a shame.
I'm gonna let. Oh wait, since there's a bunch of dudes here, I'll let you in on a little secret. This is why I have these theories about them. You have a pack of females together. They are at each other's throats. Yes. Now, there are two groups of females. You have the dominant ones, and if you were to put them in a pack, it would be your alphas and betas. And then, like, if you want to compare them to wolves, it's your alphas and your betas. Then you have your omegas, which are the ones that are weak-minded and need to be led everywhere. Now, take a group of 4 females. 2 of them are going to contend for power. You're going to have your alpha and you're going to have your beta. Then you have the 2 omegas. What they're going to be squabbling back and forth about, and actually the beta might rotate with one of the omegas, or it might rotate with the alpha. But this is how adult women work, especially women like them. They're very catty. And this is something you should know. You're welcome. I'm giving you an education on women speak. This is why they stab each other in the back. You have the alpha and the beta in one hand, and they're constantly fighting for power and to control the group. It's head cheerleader, the head of the plastics, whatever. Think Mean Girls. It was Regina. And then you have the 2 fighting for. Then you have the other one fighting for the charge. They are usually strong-willed, but the alpha generally has either seniority or knows some shit about the other one. Then you have the 2 omegas. They are not fighting for power, they're fighting for approval by the alpha. Now, they don't give a shit about the beta unless the beta falls back in line with their group, because they finally pissed off the alpha enough. And very rarely do you find an omega rise to power where they would actually be in contention with the alpha, but it happens. And given the fact that they're elected to Congress, with those groups, it happens more. That is a secret of women arguing that nobody in their group will ever acknowledge. Most women don't. I have mostly guy friends, so I don't have a problem admitting it. When it came to like the girls in my squadron, there were like one or two, and the only reason I was allowing them to take the lead, be the alpha, female, whatever, was because of rank. Because other than that, they were weak-minded individuals, and they would be like, "Oh, okay, chief, whatever you say." No, 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 no.
Good. I don't even care what you did. I just like to know it's.
And then I had my minions under me. I was a very different beta in the sense of I played the alpha in some groups because I was an E5, and also because I was an E5, I was much the beta because I was the second in line, so I didn't take the brunt of the hit from E7 through E9. But if O1s through O3s came in, I was usually the highest ranking person they dealt with, because the low ranking, the junior officers did not want to deal with chiefs. They already had a bad taste of them from flight school. So it was a weird middle ground I got to. Even in my shop, we had one girl, she was like, well, as your LPO, and I'm like, okay, well, you suck as the LPO. She was the same rank as me. She was not the alpha female in that shop. In fact, I spent a lot of time deflecting her attention to be pissed at me, because then the guys in my shop could get the work done without her hassling them.
I might have some work for you later.
She would leave them the hell alone. And oh, was it worth it every time? Totally worth it. Because I didn't like her anyway. I thought she was a lazy piece of shit. So picking a fight with her was awesome. Because I'd just make her really, really angry. And then leave work. Instead of trying to talk condescendingly to me. Oh, and by the way, that whole thing about getting the Democrats being vulnerable, they are actually, while they are, it's kind of interesting to watch all of it play out, and I think you would agree, Polly, they are eating their own if they don't align on a lot of progressive items that are inclusivity, etc., the liberal arts pedestals that they place policy making on. But at the same time, they're actually more organized than a lot of the Republican groups. The Republican groups, they're not at the eating their own, they just can't align. They're in that weird middle ground. It's not like they're turning on each other where at the end of the day they have a couple solid goals. They haven't really had any solid goals. It's kind of more like they're just playing defense for the president right now. So all of their agendas have gotten completely fucked up. The Democrats, I have to give them credit where it's due. They've run a great distraction campaign to make the Republicans look completely incompetent, while simultaneously propping up incompetent people. By the way, welcome everybody, and thank you for the likes. Oh, thank you. I threw it up in like 2 places. I just kind of like, oh, well, I'm here. Cool. Why the fuck is that not working? Oh, fuck you. Come on, guys. Come back and play. Where'd she go? This gun sucks so bad. I think my mom still has a sock puppet of the otter I did in 1st grade for a class project. He had little pipe cleaner whiskers. His name was Bob. Come here, fucker. Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's more of a, they are successfully going after the, they're able to at least get legislation looked at that would generally get ignored because it is too progressive for the day and age. Whereas the Republicans are getting very, very, it's not just that a Democrat is in control, it's you mean like that? It's they're able to get a lot more looked at that would generally be shunned because it's too extreme, whereas the Republicans can't get their fanatic bills looked at because they're too focused on playing defense that they're not going out and grabbing headlines the same way as their rivals. Can't word it nicely, they're literally rivals. Actually, Polly, have you seen Razorfist's video on Arizona? He actually did get something wrong that is very, very wrong that I should point out in the video, because he is lobbing that accusation out there, and it's wrong. He is saying that Mark Kelly never went to space. He actually flew the last space shuttle mission ever on the Endeavour. Now, granted, I get he doesn't like Mark Kelly. I don't like Mark Kelly either, and I don't like the fact that he can use his wife as a crutch for a Senate campaign. The whole, like, but my wife got shot. Yes, 8 years ago, and you're propping up her surviving and 6 others dying to bolster your political career and make everybody forget you accepted money from China for your company. I don't like him in that aspect, but we can't do what they do and lob baseless accusations at somebody like, well, they never did this. It's kind of like highlighting Trump had bankruptcies. Well, yes, he had restructuring bankruptcies when Atlantic City faced an economic downturn as a result of the I wouldn't even call it a recession in the 80s, that I'm talking about. I would call it a decline from the fast lifestyle of New York stockbrokers, of Wall Street, backing off from the 80s heyday they were having. Atlantic City and Lake resorts suffered as a result. You have that, and but he filed the bankruptcies to restructure. So you have people going off of that with Trump and going, well, he's failed because he declared bankruptcy. That's not necessarily true. If you have a business such as a resort that is subject heavily to economic conditions, which is pretty much all of the US outside of Vegas, because if we have an economic downturn, it's Americans who go to Vegas. If we are in an uptick on the economy, it's foreign tourists who go to Vegas to gamble. Atlantic City, it's a bunch of old people playing slot machines. That's literally what it is there. I'm from Baltimore. It's like 2.5 hours to get to Atlantic City. It's not that far. And there are bus trips from senior centers up there all the time. So Mark Kelly which I would love to see who did the poll. None of the news networks I've found thus far have revealed the source of the poll, except AZ Central kind of beat around and vaguely hinted it may have been them that did the poll today, that indicated Kelly was at 52% and McSally was at 38%, which, I mean, she called a guy a liberal hack in the halls of Congress. Like, come on now. I need you to bust out your girl balls again and pull some shit in Arizona and tell him to stop using his wife as a crutch. Like, I mean, it sucks what happened to her, and it sucks that she lost like 50% of her vision in both eyes, and that part of her skull is missing. It sucks she was shot. You cannot live with that as a crutch and use your spouse as a crutch for your career aspirations, political aspirations. Oh yeah, right at the beginning, he calls Kelly the only astronaut to never go to space. The unfortunate thing is, I mean, luckily we didn't quite lose our minds the same way when Obama was president. I wasn't allowed to because he was my boss at the end of the day. But we didn't openly lose our minds the same way. Which, by the way, George Bush is my hero, but not for like his policy and stuff. I just like that he doesn't give a shit now. Like, I want to be his age and be on that level of not caring. I want to do that. I want to be able to laugh at a plastic poncho. But, and that's going back to what I said before, while I say that we haven't lost our minds about him or about things quite like the left does, we cannot. Fuck you. Shit, I'm out of ammo for this. Yeah, good thing there's a tinker bench in here. Oh, where the fucking. Yeah, we just can't lose our minds like the left did, and part of that they will cite us heavily on is false claims. Like, well, Kelly did go to space. He did. I'm not arguing that. He was on the last Endeavour mission. He was on very short missions. His brother was the study subject for a year-long mission because his brother is an identical twin, so they were studying like DNA and how space changes your DNA. So his brother did spend more time in space with him. He had to go through more rigors, the muscle atrophy. That is true about him bad-mouthing previous presidents. That is highly accurate. He just it is a unique level of narcissism that none of us are really willing or wanting to handle, because holy shit. I want to shoot a machine gun. So bad. I only got to use an M9 and a Mossberg in boot camp. It was bullshit. Ugh. But yeah, I agree with you, Polly. Like, that's one of Obama's biggest continuing faults is the fact that he blames everybody but himself for any consequences of his actions or things that led to poorly received or poorly executed actions during his presidency. People hate Common Core. Common Core is failing the US. But it's Bush's fault for bringing in No Child Left Behind. Well, the initial draft of No Child Left Behind that was approved is grossly different from how states implemented it. It was, I mean, granted, it's not a good bill because there was so much wiggle room to wrongly interpret it. But the intent was well placed behind it. Common Core was just, oh, somebody who's gonna offer me, like, somebody who's gonna give me this kickback after I'm out of office and I don't have to worry about presidential corruption and profiteering. Offer me this brilliant idea that'll sell more textbooks, and it's also going to hook my friends up with extra jobs because we're going to have to hire more people for the Department of Education. And it's literally ruining what the previous president did because I'm better than them. That's what it was. They proved before Common Core even came out in paperwork, like, professors of education who taught teachers how to teach said this is not a good idea. I know many teachers who hit the 30-year mark and retired because of that. It's poorly executed, it's poorly performed, it's poorly promoted. I should not have taken this out. So I'm trying to listen to what my game is doing. And I have to listen to it in a weird way. Because it's a PlayStation, so... And I don't have Elgato chat link because I have not made my own version of that cable. Well, no. There's a difference. You have professors of education who were saying this is not a good idea. And that's what I'm referencing to. Versus politicians going, if we make them dependent on us, we can do whatever we want and have all of the power. That's where I'm going with it. Yeah, I don't wish on anybody to fail and become miserable at the hands of government just because of greed and kickbacks. I don't agree with liberal agendas being taught in school, but it's the one time that I can agree that while we must accept public education as a factor of life because a complete charter system built on meritocracy and skill sets will not happen, the professors who actually stood up for once to politicians who generally are of similar mindset as them was a good thing. It's a good thing.
I smell scrap. Well, not literally. There is a smelly surprise around every corner.
Well, the professors that were teaching the teachers looked at it and said the idea as they drafted it to come forward, which was eventually approved, the fundamental idea of retraining teachers to teach in a different format. Let's look at, we're gonna look at math for an example. So I happen to have a niece. I graduated in 2006, so I saw the start of No Child Left Behind. My niece is going to be a senior in high school this coming year, so she was in, let's see, she was born in 2004. She would have been in roughly second grade when because they were more rapid at implementing Common Core as well, which was a huge problem with it. It had to be done right then. It was like, you need to do this next school year, train up all your teachers, we're changing the curriculum, we're going to dictate what you teach, and that's it. Whereas at least with No Child Left Behind, some teachers had some discretion. So like, they had a basic test that a lot of teachers formulated their curriculum around, but they could add things on there. It was more of a basic syllabus or a basic, it was a rough draft or a template of like, we need you to focus your class around these topics. However you get there, we don't care, but these are what we're going to test on. No Child Left Behind was much more structured, where I could go to 3 different classes and they're essentially teaching the same thing, and they would be on roughly the same timeline within maybe a couple of days of each other based on the level of the class. Because even though they're scaled to levels, so you have like gifted and talented, honors, AP, whatever you want to call it in the class, they still have to teach the same fundamental class. It's just pacing is different. But my niece was learning her multiplication tables, and they were actually having the kids color in blocks on a sheet of graphing paper. So it's like you go across 12 and then you go down 12, and then you color in everything in between and you count the blocks as you're doing it. I'm like, why don't you just teach them basic multiplication tables, like how to read a 2-axis graph? Like, that's kind of critical to like 3 other types of math, reading an X and Y axis. Taking fire from where?
People are still
Oh, I know where. It's the farm right across from me.
How could anyone
Come here, fucker.
away? Here's toilet paper.
So
That startled me.
yeah, I went to high school in the Bush era. I graduated. I watched the economy tank, and I joined the Navy the first year of Obama's presidency. I actually watched him neuter the military. Now, there was one policy overturned, which I don't care about to this day, because I think everybody should be equally able to be miserable in the military, which was don't ask, don't tell. Like, I agree with repealing that. The it was kind of a dick move, honestly, because it's like, oh, everybody's so bigoted. It's like, even back then they kind of just didn't give a shit. Like, there were more amongst the ranks, yes, but it wasn't everybody was a bigot. And it, like, even like the apocalypse didn't happen just because it was overturned. Like, I met one person who was a piece of shit, and we called him out because he also dated a stripper, so he was already kind of a piece of shit anyway. But even the military is toxic as they call it, and they call it toxic. There are certain toxic things about it, such as when they decided, hey, we're going to turn this into a social experiment. The kinder, gentler Navy, aka, it used to be called the Girl Scouts. We're going to sit and talk about their feelings, and you can't yell at them because you'll hurt their feelings. Literally got counseled in front of somebody I wrote up for that. Like, I was too hard on them.
Visitors.
It was a dude. That's what it made me so mad, that a dude cried to our chief that I was difficult on him because he routinely fucked up maintenance and tried to act like he was better than me. And I'm like, you're still an E4 and I'm an E5 and the shift's soup, so get the fuck back out to the plane and do work, and do it correctly this time. But I met one sexist. I had one separate person make a sexist comment who came back frustrated at his wife and teenage daughter, who was newly going through her I hate everybody phase. And it was funny because I had just gotten some mobility back after spraining my ankle really bad. So I was like, look, I can't carry this upstairs. And he was just irritated because it was literally the last thing we had to take up, and they were delaying us going home because of that. So he was already pissed off, and he was like, fucking women. And tensions were high because we came off of a fast-paced deployment. But he wasn't normally like that. So it was kind of one of those, like, I got pissed off in the moment, but I never reported him because it was passion of the moment. And then you had my chief, who openly said, like, we have too many women in the shop, it causes nothing but problems. You cannot have this many women in an aircraft maintenance shop. Like, that dude was a sexist. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when one of my friends finds out he's gonna be my chief and calls me and says that is the most racist, sexist chief I have ever met, and then I call another one and text him, like, a passing text just to kind of, like, test the waters a little bit and see how he feels about him. So you have a white dude saying racist, sexist, and you get a black guy who goes, he's different, he's very interesting in messages. Yeah, I believe him. I believed them, and then I saw it. And then he threw a fucking water bottle at me, and I ended his career. And the best part was he threw a water bottle when I was... And I would say water bottle. I don't mean this size water bottle. I mean a 1.5 liter full of water, and split it against a wall. So it was something I didn't want to get hit in the face with. I could take a 16.9 ounce to the face, probably maybe have a bruise, but a liter and a half might knock me out. I was gonna fight him. I was gonna beat his fucking ass that day. I was looking at the 3-hole punch on his desk and I was like, this dude swings at me, he's getting hit with that 3-hole punch. I'm not as big as him, I'm a chick. I cannot fight a dude unless I leverage the fight. I have a knife in my pocket and I have a 3-hole punch on the desk. The knife is a last resort because I don't want to pull a deadly weapon, but I will hit him with a hole punch. How dare I look at things in context as NCO? Yeah, I got in trouble for that a lot. Because there were times I'd go to bat for people and they would get, they actually got angrier at me for going to bat for somebody because I would fight tooth and nail than they would get if I just ripped them an ass right in the middle of the hangar. Ripped them a new ass. This is my safe space. But Polly, yeah, to fill you in. Oh, I don't think Polly's here now. But to fill you in, yeah, that's my one time I also went to the EO because he created a hostile work environment. But he threw a fucking water bottle at me because I was asking how exactly it was easier to come on to deployment when we were when we were taking over a deployment site from a squadron with different aircraft than us. But the squadron relieving us had the same platform, but they were having difficulties getting out to us on time and they kept getting delayed. He threw a liter and a half of water at me and it split when the bottle split when it hit the wall. Like, I don't give a shit. Oh, and by the way, Assassin of the Grey, you'll know what I'm talking about. That happened. I went to NJP. I went to MAST. I went and saw the CO for that one. Because they wanted to make an example out of me. It also happened to get out that my chief threw a water bottle at me, and I made sure that the command knew, even though they threatened to take me back if I kept talking about it. And I was like, well, it's actual assault. Like, this isn't like somebody going, they grabbed my butt and I didn't like it the next morning, so I'm gonna claim sexual harassment. No. He threw a fucking water bottle at me. I thought I was gonna have to fight him when he got 2 inches from my face and started screaming at me. That's actual assault. Like, I really thought I was gonna have to fight a dude. I mean, I'll bro down, but come on. Big difference. Cool. Thank you, Beth. Well, Assassin, the one thing about pressing charges against that guy was we were in Italy, in Sigonella. It would have gotten really interesting to press charges because it was... We were on a Navy base where our guards were at the gate. However, administration of the base, like, so we guarded the gates in SIG, but administration of the base and all policing was done by administration of the base and all discipline and like overseeing of policy was the Italians. Like, if you got bitten by one of the roaming dogs that lived on base and you actually attacked the dog, you would get charged by the Italians, not the Americans. It was really weird, and like to press charges against somebody got really, really odd. Like we had people wreck a car in a DUI and flee from the scene, and they got turned over to the Italians. And then the Italians called our CO, and our CO had to send the chief to go pick them up. But the CO had to come in the next morning to sign for them. And then if they got tried, they, like, if the Italians decided to do anything about it, it got into this whole mess. Like, there was a status of forces agreement, but because the Italians controlled the base, it got really weird. I ended that chief's career. I mean, granted, he was already in the window to retire, so they just made him retire. Like, he already had the retirement approval and everything signed. Like, his shit was done. It was just right going to the retirement date. But because of his little stunt doing that, he was no longer authorized to change his mind on it, because he was still at the point he could have retracted the paperwork, but he could not after that because I ruined his career. I also apparently made it so he couldn't get a job as a contractor on base because they sent back word to the one Master Chief who, when I checked into the command, was my maintenance Master Chief at the previous command. And when I checked in to that command, he said, you know me, I know you, you know my rules. Do we have to have much more of a check-in than this? No, Master Chief. And he was like, all right, carry on. Congratulations on making E4. I'll see you at the promotion. And they let him know because he had been P3s as an FE, and then he became a Master Chief, and he was just like a maintenance Master Chief, and he would fuck with mechs really bad and electricians. And he basically ended that guy's chances of getting a contract on base because he knew everyone. No, I ruined his career because even though I told somebody, I pursued it even once we got back to Jacksonville. I continued on and made sure everybody fucking knew. I wasn't letting the E7 mess bury it. I was willing to go back to NJP. If they basically let him carry on like nothing happened. So. Yeah. He did that. He did that to himself. I get that. He chose to do that. And I mean, the best part was he had warned me before that. He's like, oh, he goes, oh, you think you're angry? I used to be angry too. I kicked trash cans across the shop. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, but I'm not getting mad for, and I even told him before he did that, I was like, I don't get mad for the sake of being mad. I get mad when you screw up routine maintenance and act like I'm wrong for making you go back out and fix what you screwed up. It was really simple. Is Monkey alive right now? Oh my. Oh my, Monkey is live. Well, he has a reminder set up. Oh, looks like I'm gonna have to end this soon. Do I get this? Oh, Tom, there are so many similarities between the Fallout, like the timeline of Fallout and what's actually going on now. And there are a couple parts that I don't think Monkey has yet that I've got to tell him about sometime that are actual kind of scary parallels to us. Well, okay, Tom, in defense, this is only 25 years after the bombs dropped. The other games are 200 years. You will have an asphalt breakdown due to thermal reactivity and shifting of dirt from storms and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense, like, that the roads are still relatively intact. Look up Centralia, Pennsylvania. Town's been abandoned for like 40 or actually I think it's close to 60 years now. I believe it's close to 60 years. So, but I'm gonna head over to Monkey. If anybody doesn't have the link watching, I am adding it to chat. I am going to end, I think, for now. I might come back after Monkeys because I've got to stay up all night because I've got work tomorrow. Tom, we'll talk in Monkeys chat. I'm heading over there. I'm just gonna close this out and get back to my cabin so I can pay attention to Monk.